Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Not Your Mama's Midlife, where we believe that midlife is not a crisis, it's actually an awakening. Hi, I'm Tasha Davis. I'm a nurse practitioner and the owner of Downtown Hydration and Wellness in Aiken, South Carolina. But for today and for future episodes, I will be your host and your tour guide through all things perimenopause/menopause. So let's get into it. Healthy boundaries. That is what we're talking about today because once you arrive to your perimenopausal journey, it has never been more glaringly obvious of the need for healthy boundaries in your lives, right? So if you're anything like me, you were kind of raised in that good girl conditioning, right? You're kind of raised with this notion that in order to be a nice person, you had to be a yes person. And when you get to a point in your perimenopausal journey, you kind of start looking at it a little differently. You start seeing it differently, not only for yourself, but you start recognizing it a little bit differently in other people too. And so this shift starts happening during perimenopause. You start figuring out that certain situations just don't feel comfortable anymore, especially if you feel like it's something that you're having to fake, right? You can't tolerate fakeness or people being insincere or disingenuous, and things that you could just kind of ignore in other people and even in yourself. Yes. We can't do that anymore once we get to this point in perimenopause. It just becomes almost suffocating in a way. You just, and it gets very irritating. And so, this could be for a lot of reasons. It could honestly be related back to, this crisis part of our symptoms that we experience, the hot flashes, the sleepless nights. I will be the first one to tell you that when I am tired, I am cranky. I am not someone that you really want to be around because I get in my feelings when I haven't slept well. And so because when our symptoms are unmanaged, especially after a long period of time, we're worn out, right? We're tired and we don't have time for it. The fakeness goes away, the fake smile, the mask, it just kind of we don't have the energy to put it back on. And we don't have the energy to watch others do it too, right? So it's kind of like a twofold situation as this starts happening during perimenopause. And so what I would like for you is just to imagine for just one moment that saying no isn't negative. Saying no is actually a very positive thing sometimes for yourself. And just leave a little bit of room at the table for the idea that it's not a weakness to say no. It's not a weakness to ask for help, that it's actually a strength. And it's never, I don't recall a time in my life where it was more apparent that I needed healthy boundaries until I got to this stage. So what's happening in this stage is, we had mentioned on previous episodes, there's a lot of things changing, physically, our bodies are changing. We're kind of going through this, emotional and mental awakening, spiritual awakening for some. And there are definitely the hormone changes, the progesterone and the estrogen. They do a dance throughout our cycle, right? They are supposed to dance together, but sometimes there's some disruption. And so that's when we start having like those extreme symptoms of perimenopause and menopause that we're all pretty familiar with. And when we have these like extreme highs or extreme lows, that can make us more emotional, right? It can make us more just not able to go with the flow as much as we used to. You might be a person, I know me personally, I got my start as an RN way back when in the ER. I love the chaos. The chaos is great. I thrive with chaos and change, and I'm good at that. But I noticed when I got into perimenopause, that kind of changed a little bit. I craved more stability. I crave the this, right? The just regular, normal days, nothing crazy going on, that stability. And so that is what, again, our bodies have a way of kind of communicating to us like what we need in that moment. And so, yes, I'm one, still the ADHD. ADHD is pretty hard some days. And so I can, just kind of keep it going when things are being thrown at me. But for the most part, on the daily, I really crave that stability. And in order for us to get that stability, we have to have healthy boundaries. We have to know what our body needs, and we have to be able to give it what it needs as well. I like to kind of throw out. I can make this correlation. You might be able to understand a little bit more. So I also have a TikTok page, and I had posted a TikTok a couple weeks ago, and it was basically about misophonia. So if you don't know what that is, loud chewing, loud talking, clicking of pens, someone smacking. Those sounds are just like way over the top when you're in perimenopause for a lot of us. And I definitely experienced that, which I experienced it to some level even before my hormones came into the picture. So it's always been there for me. And perimenopause just like shot it to the moon. Like it's off the charts. Um, I cannot fix my face. One thing as a nurse they teach you is, you got to fix your face, because you can hear some, pretty wild, outlandish things sometimes. But as I have gotten older and into my midlife journey, it is quite difficult for me to fix my face a lot of times, especially if someone is smacking gum really loudly or has their phone on speakerphone in a restaurant, because everything is just, bigger, right? So I hear things bigger. I'm more sensitive to that. And that's how we become when those hormones start shifting. We become more sensitive to those shifts. And so it's kind of like that with boundaries. So some of us may have a history of setting good boundaries. So it's not anything unheard of. However, if you were raised like me and you have a background similar to mine, that really healthy boundaries wasn't a topic of discussion at the dinner table frequently or ever. Because a lot of times our parents were kind of that good girl conditioning too, right? So again, I'm always going to say, you don't know what you don't know. And so we weren't raised where it was really about you and about what fed you and what was good for you. It was just about saying yes. It was about feeding into that narrative of what my role is in this relationship and situation. And so boundaries weren't really discussed. It wasn't anything that it was taught, definitely not taught in school. It was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, an upbringing for, most of my peers as well. And so we get to this place in perimenopause where it's like we're craving these boundaries, right? We're craving this, this isn't working for me, or I'm feeling some kind of way about the situation, and what do I do with that? And so the boundaries, in a way, become our new hormone, right? It becomes stabilizing for us. And just as the progesterone and the estrogen are in a dance with one another throughout our cycles and throughout our perimenopausal journey, our boundaries then enter the chat. Okay. And that is what helps provide that stabilization, that peace of mind that we all are just wanting and craving at this moment. one realization that you have once you start learning how to set healthy boundaries with people is that sometimes being nice has cost us our own peace. We start reevaluating things, right? We start reevaluating relationships. We start reevaluating situations over the past. We start reevaluating how we want to move forward and things that we have to really address in order to move forward in a positive way. And we start, kind of going back through, man, that stole my peace. Just kind of not addressing the situation or allowing a situation to be going on longer than it should have, just for someone else's sake, right? Because again, we're good girl conditioned. We have to say yes, right? We can't say the thing. Well, I'm here to tell you, say the thing, say it. Once you start with those healthy boundaries, even in the smallest of small things, you will see and you will find that it's comforting. Setting healthy boundaries is a form of self-care, and it's next level self-care. So we think, going to get a pedicure is self-care. We think going to get a massage is self-care. Absolutely. I support that 100%. If that's part of what you need to feel rest and to feel joy and at peace. But when you start learning how to set those healthy boundaries in your relationships, especially those day-to-day relationships, that is a form of self-care that I pray you all get to experience, because my life has never been more peaceful than it is today. And I can say that, and I'm proud of that for many reasons. I fought like hell for it. And it's not easy to set boundaries, especially with people that you love, right? And it gets even further complicated when you start setting boundaries in relationships and environments with people, and they don't like it. All right. So they don't like it. They don't think, wow, this is great for you. No, they tend to kind of think that you are, being mean or aggressive or difficult. Oh, geez, that word, being difficult. No, the only thing difficult in this situation is that I'm finally revealing something that has been there the whole time. So the only people who don't appreciate your boundaries are the people who are benefiting by you not having them. So I ask you to think about your life, think about your workplace, think about your family dynamics, think about the relationships and your friend group and your home, and whatever the situation may be. And think about situations that drain you, right? Think about situations that you dread. Is it maybe you dread going to work every day? Maybe you dread that weekly office meeting. Maybe you dread, you're going to have to be on a Teams call with someone and the camera's going to be on and we are going to have difficulty with fixing the face. Maybe it's, maybe going to big family function drains you. Maybe, the holidays are coming up. Major, big triggering things for a lot of us is family functions. And maybe they just drain you because you're not saying the thing, right? You're still good girl conditioned. Well, I got to do this because this is how it's always been. Or I can't bring up this because then, someone's feelings are going to be hurt. Or I can't say, no, this isn't a good day or time for us because, you don't want to upset the apple cart. And so I invite you just to take a moment and self-reflect and really hone in on those situations in your life that drain you. because that, my friend, is typically where that next healthy boundary lies. That's going to be where you really need to figure out, what's right for me. Is this stealing my joy? Is this stealing my peace? And again, I said it on previous episodes, nothing is permanent, right? Nothing, it doesn't have to be forever. We can set a healthy boundary while we process things, while we heal, and then maybe revisit it at a later point with a different perspective, because a healed perspective is very different than a wounded one. And I know for me personally, I had to get to a point where I wasn't constantly looking at situations that were where I was, just in the wrong, and where it was a negative thing by saying no. And I had to really process that. And it took a while. I'm going to be honest. It did took a while. It took a lot of practice. It was, just this valid need for validation, and so I would, set a healthy boundary, and then I would call my best girlfriend. Hey, this is what do you think? Needing that encouragement and that validation. And I pray that you have people in your life that when you start reaching out for that validation, that they do provide you with that. However, you will get to a point where you no longer seek that validation. Think about that. Think about saying no, or saying not right now, or this doesn't work for me, and that being it. No need for explaining, no need to justify, no need to come up with XYZ of why you feel that way, and just holding the line. Just holding the line and being resolved and settled within yourself of a healthy boundary, because you are so well aware at this point that that is what your body is needing. That boundary is not there to keep people out. It's there to protect you. It's there for your body to say, this doesn't feel right. So I'm just going to take a minute and I'm going to give myself some peace to process this. I'm going to give myself space. I mean, what's wrong with that? Why have we become so conditioned that we think that we don't deserve some peace and some space, and that we're able to just provide it for ourselves? We're not looking for anyone else to give us that. We have permission. And during this time of perimenopause, the most empowering part of this is just being good with ourselves, right? Being happy with ourselves, knowing and listening and feeling confident in what our bodies need at any given point. But it's so hard, right? Especially when we talk about relationships and people that we love, because a lot of times people who haven't gone through this journey before, and maybe they did go through perimenopause, maybe they're in menopause, but they didn't go through your journey, and so it's hard for them to relate. Maybe it's because they're a little jealous. Maybe they're still in their good girl conditioning. Maybe they're still people pleasing, and they look at you and they look how happy you are. Even when you say no, you can still smile and you're happy about it. And maybe they're a little envious of that. And that's okay. We wish them well. We set the example. We, guide them if they ask for guidance, and hope that they come to a point, because everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves to be able to provide their own peace, right? And to just have that healthy boundary within whatever relationship it is, whether it's, again, work, family, with your children, and you could start out with simple boundaries that, hey, from this time to this time, that's my time. I'm not going to don't ask me for anything. Don't call me, don't text me. You know, whatever it is, maybe starting off small, you know, maybe you cannot imagine saying no. Well, maybe don't say no right off the bat. Say, let me think about it, you know, or that doesn't feel right now for me. Or, you know, however you want to phrase it. But I promise you, it gets easier once you start setting those healthy boundaries. And then you also, it reveals the relationships with those people, the people that are proud of you for those healthy boundaries. Those are your people, right? Those are your people. Your people aren't the ones who turn it into a thing, right? It's a thing because you said no. It's a thing because you said you weren't going to stay late at work. It's a thing because you didn't answer your work phone on a Saturday afternoon. It's a thing when you say, you know what, I'm just not feeling game night with our group, or I'm not, you know, I'm not interested in family Sunday afternoon. I'm going to go and Sunday afternoon, I'm going to take some me time. I might lay on the couch. I might read a book. I'm just going to take a minute. The people that are your people are going to be excited by the fact that you're taking time for yourself. And again, doesn't mean it's a no forever, right? You can go back to family dinners on Sundays or whatever it is. But in the moment, your body's telling you, hey, this doesn't feel right. So listen, I invite you to listen, because this whole awakening that we are experiencing, it is a way of saying enough pretending, just enough pretending that, you know, nice is good, right? And nice is yes. And just taking the mask off and just being real with yourself. Because I promise you, once you start accepting who you are, the right people are going to celebrate that in you. They're not going to be threatened by that. They're going to be cheering you on, right? They're going to be cheering you on. They're going to love it for you. You know, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and you know, we were all in a circle. There was a few of us there, and it's like, I don't know. I kept saying, I love that for you. I love that for you. And you know, I can say that, and I say that often, and I mean it every single time, because I know what it's like. And I love when I see women who set a healthy boundary, right? And who I can just look at and tell, oh, she's got it. She's got it. She's getting there. Good for her. Good for her for setting a healthy boundary. Good for her for saying, this isn't serving me right now. I'm going to go process this. You know, and I know if you've never said words like that before, it may sound very foreign. It may sound strange. You know, practice. Look at yourself in the mirror and practice. Have the conversation, you know, in your head, mull it over. I do my best thinking and come up with my best comebacks in the shower. So if you're like that, then just kind of rehearse that, you know, of what those healthy boundaries are in the shower in the morning when you're getting ready. But the biggest thing is that you just give yourself permission, right? Permission for healthy boundaries. Hey, you have it. If you're having a hard time telling yourself that, listen to me telling you. I give you permission to set healthy boundaries in order to protect your peace and bring back joy into your life, and just know and understand that is part of self-care. And we have to care for ourselves. With as many changes that our body is experiencing externally and internally, the self-care matters right now more than any other time. The self-care matters. And so I invite you to start learning more about yourself and learning more about what drains you and figuring out where those boundaries need to be and with who they need to be with. You know, you get to decide that for yourself. That's part of the empowerment, and that is part of the awakening that we are experiencing right now. So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode about healthy boundaries. I am quite certain this will not be the last time we talk about it. But if it resonated with you, let us know. Reach out to us, share our podcast, send us a message, give us a call. And until next time, I hope you stay well, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.